The village of Umuahia was nestled between rolling green hills and dense forests, a serene place where the rhythms of life were dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The villagers lived simple lives, tilling the fertile soil, fishing in the nearby river, and weaving colorful cloths. They were a close-knit community, bonded by traditions passed down through generations. Among the villagers, tales of wealth and success in the outside world were rare and often exaggerated. So, when Obinna, a former villager, returned to Umuahia in grand style, his arrival was nothing short of legendary. His convoy of shiny black cars stirred up clouds of red dust as they rolled into the village. The vehicles gleamed under the sunlight, and the villagers gathered in awe, marveling at the spectacle. Obinna was not just wealthy, he was extravagantly so. Dressed in the finest fabrics and adorned with gold jewelry, he exuded power and success. His generosity was even more astonishing. Each time he returned, he brought gifts: sacks of rice, bundles of cash, and toys for the children. He lavished the elders with kegs of palm wine and distributed clothing to the women. The villagers worshipped him as though he were a god, believing he had been blessed for his benevolence. What the villagers didn't know was that Obinna's wealth came at a terrible cost. He was a member of a secretive occult group, a brotherhood that promised riches beyond imagination in exchange for blood sacrifices. Every act of charity he performed was a ritual, a calculated offering to the dark spirits he served. Unseen by the villagers, the gifts he distributed carried a curse. Children who accepted toys or other items from him would fall mysteriously ill and die within days. Yet the villagers, blinded by their gratitude and awe, failed to make the connection. They attributed the deaths to bad luck or ancestral wrath, never suspecting that their beloved benefactor was the source of their sorrow. Among the villagers was a boy named Chaik, a curious and observant child with a mind far beyond his years. Chaik had begun to notice the pattern of deaths that followed Obinna's visits. Though he was just a boy, he harbored suspicions that few would dare voice. The Yam Festival was a time of joy and abundance in Umuahia, a celebration that marked the culmination of the villagers' hard work and the blessings of their ancestors. This year's festival, however, was unlike any before it. Obinna, the wealthiest man ever to emerge from the village, returned during the festivities, and his arrival was nothing short of a spectacle. His convoy of luxurious cars snaked its way into the village, each vehicle glinting under the scorching sun like a treasure from the gods. The villagers gathered in the square, their songs of praise and welcome rising to meet him. Obinna stepped out of his car, exuding an air of wealth and power. Dressed in richly embroidered robes and adorned with gold jewelry, he looked like a king among men. The festival began with traditional dances, drumming, and offerings to the ancestors. Obinna sat at the center of it all, surrounded by elders and dignitaries, his face a mask of benevolence. As the day unfolded, he began his well-known ritual of distributing gifts. He handed out sacks of rice, bundles of money, clothing, and toys to the villagers, each gift received with gratitude and adoration. But beneath the surface of this apparent generosity lay a sinister truth. Every item Obinna distributed was laced with a curse, a dark spell bound to claim the lives of those who accepted them. For the occult brotherhood to which Obinna belonged, these gifts were offerings to the spirits, a means of maintaining his wealth and power. Unseen by the joyous crowd, a shadow seemed to follow Obinna, a dark energy that lingered over him. Those who were spiritually attuned could sense it, though they dared not speak of it. Among the crowd was Maman Kechi, the village's spiritual guide, who watched Obinna with wary eyes. She had long suspected that his wealth was not of natural origin, and the deaths of children following his visits only deepened her doubts. As the festival drew to a close, the villagers dispersed with their gifts, their hearts full of joy. Obinna left the village with the same grandeur as his arrival. But the celebrations were soon overshadowed by tragedy. Within days, several children fell mysteriously ill. Among them was Nkem, a bright and lively boy who had received a carved wooden horse from Obinna. His parents tried every remedy they knew, but his condition worsened rapidly. By the third day, Nkem was gone, leaving his family devastated. The villagers mourned the loss, attributing it to bad luck or ancestral displeasure. But Mama Nkechi knew better. She began to quietly investigate, piecing together the pattern of deaths that followed Obinna's visits. Her suspicions grew stronger, and she resolved to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The days after the Yam festival were filled with a peculiar unease in Umuahia. The villagers, unaware of the hidden darkness behind Obinna's generosity, carried on with their lives, cherishing the gifts they had received. Children played with the toys, women cooked meals using the provisions, and families proudly displayed the clothing and ornaments given by the wealthy man. But the joy was short-lived. The first sign of trouble came when a young boy, Chigazi, who had received a beautifully carved drum, fell mysteriously ill. He was the picture of health during the festival, but within 3 days, he became lethargic, his vibrant laughter replaced by a pained silence. His family tried everything: herbs, prayers, and offerings, but nothing worked. By the 5th day, Chigazi was gone. His death sent ripples of sorrow through the village, but it was not the last. Other children who had received gifts from Obinna began to exhibit similar symptoms. Each case followed the same pattern: sudden illness, a rapid decline, and death within days. The grief-stricken parents could not understand what was happening, and whispers of a curse began to circulate. Mama Nkechi, the village's spiritual guide, watched these events unfold with growing dread. For years, she had harbored suspicions about Obinna, sensing a darkness around him that no amount of wealth could conceal. His visits always seemed to coincide with mysterious misfortunes, but no one dared to question him. Now, with the deaths piling up, her fears were coming to fruition. Determined to uncover the truth, Mama Nkechi began her investigations in earnest. She visited the families of the deceased children, examining the gifts they had received. Each item, though outwardly ordinary, carried an energy that was cold and malevolent. She performed cleansing rituals, but the dark energy lingered, defying her efforts. Late one night, as Mama Nkechi meditated in her shrine, she sought guidance from the ancestors. The spirits, restless and agitated, revealed a vision of Obinna standing in a dark forest, surrounded by shadowy figures. In his hands, he held a blood-soaked chalice, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The vision confirmed what she had long suspected. Obinna's wealth was rooted in blood rituals, and the gifts he distributed were tools of his dark pact. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Mama Nkechi approached the village elders. She recounted her findings and shared the vision, but the elders were hesitant to act. Obinna's wealth had benefited the village in many ways, and they feared the repercussions of confronting him. However, Mama Nkechi's determination was unwavering. She knew that if they did nothing, more lives would be lost. Months passed, and the village tried to move on from the tragedies, though a lingering sense of unease remained. Mama Nkechi continued her quiet investigations, gathering evidence and preparing for the day Obinna would return. She sought the counsel of a neighboring village's spiritual leaders, known for their powerful rituals and deep connection to the spirit world. Meanwhile, Obinna remained oblivious to the growing suspicion around him. Secure in his power and influence, he continued his life of luxury, bolstered by the sacrifices demanded by the occult brotherhood to which he belonged. Each gift he distributed was an offering to the spirits, binding him further to their service and ensuring his wealth and status. But Obinna's ambitions were growing. The occult group demanded ever greater sacrifices, and he knew that he needed to perform a grand ritual to cement his position. This time, the target would be a child young, innocent, and pure. He set his sights on Nena, the daughter of a prominent family in Umuahia, whose bright spirit made her an ideal candidate. Unaware of Obinna's sinister plans, the villagers prepared for his return. When the day arrived, his convoy once again rolled into the village, and the people gathered to welcome him. The elders, now aware of Mama Nkechi's suspicions, observed him closely, their faces betraying none of their thoughts as the festival unfolded. Obinna began his usual ritual of distributing gifts. But this time, Mama Nkechi was prepared. She had enlisted the help of the neighboring village's spiritual leaders, who hid among the crowd, ready to act when the moment came. When Obinna presented a golden necklace to Nena, Mama Nkechi stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. She called upon the ancestors, invoking their power to reveal the truth. The air grew heavy, and the sky darkened as a chilling wind swept through the square. Suddenly, the golden necklace in Nena's hands began to glow, its light revealing a shadowy figure hovering behind Obinna. The spirit, bound to him by his dark pact, was visible to all. The villagers gasped in horror as the spirit spoke, its voice echoing through the square. It recounted the sacrifices Obinna had made, the lives he had taken, and the curses he had placed on his gifts. Obinna, realizing he had been exposed, tried to flee, but the spiritual leaders from the neighboring village blocked his path. Together with Mama Nkechi, they began a powerful ritual to sever Obinna's connection to the dark forces. The confrontation in the village square was like nothing Umwahia had ever witnessed. As the spiritual leaders chanted, the spirits of Obinna's victims began to appear, their ghostly forms filled with anguish and rage. They surrounded Obinna, their presence a testament to the suffering he had caused. The villagers watched in stunned silence, unable to look away. The once celebrated benefactor was now exposed as a monster, his every act of generosity revealed to be a tool of destruction. Obinna's face twisted in fear as the spirits closed in, their energy tearing at his soul. The ritual to sever Obinna's connection to the occult was a harrowing ordeal. The spiritual leaders called upon the elements, invoking the power of the ancestors to cleanse the village. The ground trembled beneath them, and the air crackled with energy as light and darkness clashed. Obinna screamed as the spirits of the children he had sacrificed turned their wrath on him. They dragged him to the ground, their cries rising in a chilling crescendo. The earth opened beneath him, and a fiery abyss yawned at his feet. With one final, anguished scream, Obinna was pulled into the void, his body consumed by the forces he had once controlled. As the ritual concluded, the sky cleared, and a sense of peace settled over the village. The spirits of the children, freed from their torment, faded into the ether, their presence replaced by a profound stillness. The villagers, though shaken, felt a renewed sense of unity and resolve. Mama Nkechi, exhausted but victorious, led the village in a cleansing ceremony. The cursed gifts were burned, and rituals were performed to purify the land. The elders vowed to rebuild their community, ensuring that no one would ever again fall victim to such evil. The story of Obinna's downfall became a cautionary tale, passed down through generations. It served as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the power of the ancestors to protect their people. Though scarred by their ordeal, the villagers emerged stronger and wiser, their faith in the spirits and each other renewed. And so, Umwahia entered a new chapter in its history, forever changed by the events that had unfolded but determined to honor the lessons they had learned.